We play and call it work.
Hey everybody, Matthew and Luka here from MiniWarGaming.com, and welcome to this retroactive review. This is possibly a new show that we're trying out where we review things that have been out for a few weeks. This has the advantage of us actually being able to play a bunch of games with them.
Instead of just one.
And FAQ being able to come out and getting your feedback. Because I often find that I learn the most by playing it first, putting up the battle report, and then you guys give feedback. You're like, well, why didn't you try this combo? And I'm like, oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
But when you have thousands of people...
Yeah, being
feedback,
scrutinized by thousands of people helps a lot, right?
It does.
It does,
actually,
yeah.
you quickly learn the rules that you're doing wrong. You
Yep.
get to learn people's opinions on what is better and what isn't.
And what they don't want to see.
And then, yeah, exactly. And what they don't like. And then an FAQ comes out from Games Workshop and it all works out. So this is a lot better than our first impressions videos, which of course we get out as soon as we can because the book just came out. So we can't possibly have played a lot of games. So this one is going to be for Blood of Baal, the Tyranids side. Dave already did a Chaos Dave reviews for the Blood Angel side. That doesn't mean that we won't do a retrospective review. But if you like this kind of thing, let us know in the comments your opinions on what you'd like to see, what other armies that have already been out. And it doesn't matter if they've been out for a few weeks or months or even longer than that. They're all qualifying for a retrospective review. It's basically us looking at it and saying, how is this army doing right now? Now, what this isn't going to include is talking about the current tournament meta, because I don't go to tournaments. So it's more the games that I've played here and the combos that I found and that are interesting.
Right. What other people come up with and how you deal with them and all that good stuff. And I don't really go along myself. I go like once a month.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so give us your feedback. What do you think? And on top of that, once you're finished watching this, if you are a Vault member, there's a link below that we actually made a battle report specific for this review, where we played Sisters of Battle versus Tyranids using the Blood of Baal stuff. I've already played a few games of the Blood of Baal, but this one is a little different, that I actually tried to make a shooting Tyranid list work a little better. Not a super meta one with nothing but exocrines, because that's just annoying, but just an all-around shooting list. So you can see how that did. But overall, in this review, I'm not going to give any spoilers for that battle report. I'm going to take kind of the combination of all the games that I've now played with them and talk about them. And Luka's here for me to bounce ideas off and to give his opinion. You've seen them played now once.
I played against twice against you actually now.
With the Blood of Baal?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. So twice. And so that'll give them some insight as well. And of course, your insight would be appreciated. What you think are the good combos now that you've seen the book out for a little while. So let's go through everything. It's actually just a few pages in the Blood of Baal. And yet I feel like this is a fundamental switch or shift in the tone for the Tyranids. That I love new rules for things. And this almost feels like a new codex.
It adds that much, right? I agree 100%.
And it's not like the Dark Angels that didn't get access to the chapter tactic stuff, now they have access to the chapter tactic stuff. Like, as much as one of the things is the High Fleet adaptations where I can build my own High Fleet, that's definitely part of it. But it's a combination of that, a combination of the adaptive physiology, which lets you upgrade units instead of taking a warlord trait, new bio-artifacts, new psychic powers, which I haven't tried yet because they only go with the old High Fleets.
Right, and you're too much on the adaptations, right? Like,
oh, I love the High Fleet adaptations.
Yeah, so why go back to the old ones?
Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely a place for them still. And then lastly, some new stratagems, which I think add a lot of new abilities to the Tyranids. Combine that with a few points changes from Chapter Approved 2019 from a few months back. And yeah, you've got a good change, a good change up. A lot has stayed the same, but there's just a lot that feels different too. So we're gonna go through each of the things and talk about what our experiences have been with that. We'll start, I'm not gonna go in order because I feel that the proper order is actually to start with the High Fleet adaptations. This is essentially the build your own High Fleet. You can always choose to still play with Behemoth or Chronos or Jormungandr or Kraken. Those are still good, especially if you're building specific lists. For example, I've tried to make shooting work with the new Blood of Baal stuff, but there just isn't much for it. It looks like there is. There's a couple adaptations that are good for it, such as Morphic Sinews, where monsters essentially can shoot, they move and shoot heavy weapons without penalty, and they can advance and fire assault weapons without penalty. That's nice. We got to see that in our battle report today.
Yep.
And you see that that's actually quite effective, but it's just, the moving and shooting heavy weapons It's just not something you're going to see very often because exocrines fire twice when they don't move. Tyrannifexes fire twice when they don't move.
They both have, that's right, they both have the same rule.
Yes, Hive Guard, they have heavy weapons, so they're about the only ones that would care about the whole moving and shooting heavy weapons thing.
It's more or less about the Devourers than on the Carnifex.
Yeah. Like you could still put it on like the Tyrannifexes with some of their other weapons so they can move up and still fire and not be hitting on 5s, but that's one of the few things that actually helps shooting. In fact, I think that is basically the only
Everything else
thing.
seems to be movement or close combat based.
Movement, close combat, and psychic. There's a bit of psychic.
Yeah, psychic stuff as well.
And that's about it. There is a new bio artifact, which I think is really cool, the Pathogenesis, which you can use in your other Hive fleets as well, which just, you put it on a character and their weapons are plus 8-inch range. So those
That helps.
Flying Hive Tyrants with their 18-inch range, 24 strength 6 shots can now become 26-inch range. They also get to reroll 1 single hit roll and wound roll, which is fine if you've got like the bigger guns, but
Oh yeah, obviously that part's meant for the bigger
there's
guns.
another bio artifact that gives those guns maximum number of shots, which I think
Oh, that'd be better. Yeah, we talked about that.
mathematically I think that works out to be better. So the re-rolling the 1 hit and wound is whatever, plus 8-inch range on a Flyrant with nothing but Devourers. That actually is really good.
We already move super fast too, so it just gives them complete table control.
Yeah, well, 16-inch move, 26-inch threat range of 24 strength 6 shots, hitting on 3s. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, there's a bit of the, like I said, there is the adaptive physiology that instead of taking a warlord trait, you can upgrade a unit of infantry or monsters, or a monster, and there's a little bit in there for shooting. But overall, this is, I will just say it right out, that it's the weak spot of Blood of Baal. That I played the game today, and I kept thinking to myself, I should have just brought Chronos.
You're better off playing the old Chronos Hive fleet.
Because I still have access to the new stratagems, to the new bio artifacts, to the new adaptive physiologies. And it's just like, what I took here just, it didn't suit. So shooting is about the only thing I feel this is lacking, but it gives us so many more options for close combat. Let's talk about a few. So, my favorite one has to do with Scythian Talons.
Yes, this is the one you initially played against me. I don't think that game ever went up, but we did play a game.
Oh, that's right. We played a game,
Yes.
and we had some actual technical problems combined. It was Iron Hands versus Tyranids.
Yep.
And it was one turn, and you shot me off the table, and it was boring. And then we had technical problems.
And then
that
on top
that
of
game
that.
is gone. Don't ask for it. You're never going to see it. It was awful.
Yeah, it was not great.
It was back when we were experimenting with our new battle report style, and
Sometimes it doesn't work.
Well, no, it wasn't just that. It was also our equipment wasn't working properly.
Yep.
And we got the modulating audio problem.
Right, like you could not hear it on you could hear it on like your computer but not your phone.
Yeah, it was weird. It was
Yeah.
weird. We had a
Unless you
bunch
had
of
a
problems,
headset
and then the
in.
game sucked. But I still didn't even get a chance to use it because you just shot me off the table. But there's a cool few things for helping your armor penetration. First off is biometallic cysts. Armor penetration of Scythian Talons is increased by 1. And the FAQ does clarify this is not monstrous or massive Scythian Talons.
Regular Scythian Talons. So Hormagaunts, Warriors.
Hormagaunts, Warriors, Gene Stealers.
Oh yeah, Gene Stealers. That's super good on Gene Stealers.
It's super good on all of them.
It's true, yeah.
I've seen them in action on anything except, I saw it a little bit on Warriors. I'm still determined. I haven't done it yet, but I want to try a mainly Warrior army with this Biometallic Cyst and maybe Metamorphic Regrowth, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm not quite sure what the second one will be, but I think I could make them good. But yeah, just Hormagaunts, now AP -1. Gene Stealers. Normally you have to choose between Scythian Talons, which reroll 1s to hit, or your Rending Claws, which are AP -1, and if you roll 6, they become -4.
Right.
And that 6 is great. But when you're running up
But
against
it's
like
a
a 3-up save, you know, the 6s are awesome, but you want to reroll those 1s to hit.
Yeah.
Especially if you don't have a Broodlord nearby to give you +1 to hit. You're hitting on 3s, you want to reroll those 1s. If you have the Broodlord nearby who's getting you +1 to hit, then...
Two sitting on ones, rerolling ones is still pretty good though.
Of course, but
Yeah.
also just having the better rend capability is also great. But when you combine it with something else, which is Pack Hunters. Basically, if you're attacking with a melee weapon, but you outnumber what you're fighting, you get an additional AP.
And Tyranids often, almost always, outnumber their enemy.
Yeah, with the exception of Warriors, Hormagaunts, and Gene Stealers. I guess you have Raveners that have Scythian Talons too. You have some others like that, but they're not going to outnumber typically. But unless you go up against a vehicle. So imagine all of a sudden your Scythian Talons are -2 AP.
And rerolling ones.
And rerolling
Yeah.
ones. So now when you're a Gene Stealer, which one are you going to use?
Yeah.
Scythian
I
Talons.
think there's a clear choice there.
Yeah, reroll 1s and -2, or no reroll 1s, -1 with a possible higher AP. -2, even if it's a 2-up save, that's already, if you're putting a massive amount of tax into them, if they have a 2-up save, there's probably not a lot of them.
Right.
And that's awesome. So that is a huge winner, especially when we add in the fact, and I'm jumping all over the place here because I think I need to, there's a new stratagem for Hormagaunts. For 1 command point, you can increase the AP of their weapons by 1.
So AP 3 Scything Talons on Hormagaunts. If you outnumber your opponent, but we're talking power swords here on these 5-point models, 4-point models?
6-point models.
Oh, they're 6 points.
Yeah, but they're good.
That's when they're AP 3, rerolling 1s to hit on their own, and they reroll 1s to wound if there's 20 or more of them or something like that.
I always just plug them in, and I don't usually pay attention. They might only be 5 points. Either way, they're hardly any points. They're low points cost.
Is it rerolling 1s to wound if they're at a certain
If
size?
there's at least 20 of them, they re-roll 1s to wound.
So when you add all that together for a 5-ish point model, then yeah, you got something there. You got something to do with. Right? It's pretty good.
It's actually ridiculously good.
All of a sudden, they're a target your opponent has to shoot down.
Yeah, but imagine it. Okay, and once again, I haven't tried all these things since I don't want to do uber combos. I'm just going to say this outright. I don't like if you bring multiple detachments and give each of them different.
Oh, okay. So
things.
obviously, that's something you could do with these high fleet adaptations.
At a tournament, go nuts.
Right.
If you're allowed to, you're allowed to.
You make the most custom combination of high fleets you want, but I agree with Matt here. It's not my favorite thing to do either.
It's our policy here at MiniWarGaming to avoid the multiple detachment, multiple chapter tactics thing, unless there's clearly different things. Like if I'm playing Imperial Guard and I've got a detachment of Space Marines, well, obviously they get their different things.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, right? I don't know, it's weird because certain things are cool, some aren't, right? So
Right.
Tyranid fleets.
Tyranid fleets don't work together. Don't tell me they do. They don't. They'll eat each other and the winner goes and they work together.
They're designed to do completely different things too,
exactly,
right?
Exactly. But there's some really good monster upgrades here. There's some really good Psyker upgrades here. There's some really good Scything Talon upgrades here. So if I were to be the kind of person to min-max this, then I would make a detachment with all my Gene Stealers and Hormagaunts in it and Warriors, and they'd have this. And that would be awesome. And then I'd put my monsters in another detachment to give them some of their cool stuff, because there's 1 or 2 really cool upgrades for them as well. But this alone, I think this is one of the big winners, is just letting Scything Talons be better, because Hormagaunts were already a threat. Not because of their hitting power, although they could be a nuisance there as well, but because more of their numbers and how cheap they were. So if you didn't deal with them, they had enough to bring down things. But now all of a sudden, even attacking a vehicle at -2 AP,
Yeah.
normally 6 is to wound, but
still,
4
you're
is
throwing-
to hit reroll in 1, 6 is to wound.
Throwing a crap ton of dice.
And then you just got a 5-up save against it usually.
Yeah.
Maybe a 6-up.
Maybe a 6-up if you have...
It's like crappy Sentinels or things like that. So yeah, quite cool. The ones I would just flat out avoid, there's one that lets Termagants, and Gargoyles have a 6-up invuln.
There's no point. They're not worth it.
I don't understand why you'd ever choose that. And I'm the kind of guy that likes to try out other things, but I'm just like, I don't care to keep them alive, and it's a 6-up. If you told me it was a 5-up,
Oh, I'd be
all over that.
yeah. But see, that's the difference, right? Like you take that every time with hordes. All of a sudden, everything's got 5 nuts. Everything's.
I don't know if I'd take that every time because I like the combo of having so much AP. I always prefer, if you give me a choice between hitting power and staying power,
I am the opposite.
I will always choose hitting power. I know you are.
I go for
annoying.
Look at literally
Let's
every
play an
army.
apocalypse game where none of my guys die and they just all stay around.
Or
like that's the whole point of
I
apocalypse.
try and
is to stick around.
save as much face as I can with my armies. I don't want them dying. I paid a lot of money for those models.
You get to play with them again, man.
So
To me, a fun game is when both sides smash into each other, not
and mine
tactically,
survives.
and both of them take heavy casualties, and it's a big scrappy game, which is actually what you're going to see in the game in the vault
Yes.
between the Sisters of Battle and
It was
Tyranids.
brutal.
It was scrappy, and I'm not giving away anything about who's winning because I'll just tell you right now, it was close the whole time. So, good scrappy game, and I didn't even use this. I was using some of the other stuff. There's a few other cool ones. Cranial Channeling I thought was cool until the FAQ really clarified it. It's once per turn when the psychic test is taken for a model with this adaptation, you can reroll the result. For some reason I read that as each psychic could do it once per turn, but it's just once per turn, period.
Yeah.
That's not horrible.
Well, in this case, comma, but still the same thing, right?
Once per turn, when a psychic test is taken for a model. See, I thought it was, when a model takes a psychic test, once per turn it can
Right.
reroll. Which, you could rearrange it, but they've clarified that.
Right. It was yeah. That because the previous way sounds nuts.
And I did it once, and it was great.
You're like, wow, this is so overpowered.
Well, it wasn't. I didn't feel overpowered. It just felt like, yeah, I'll do a psychic army because there is a bio artifact, which is I should get the name right. Resonance Barb, which you put on a character. It lets them manifest an additional power, and they get +1 to all their manifesting. So you put that on a Hive Tyrant or on a Neurothrope would be good too, but Hive Tyrant's the real winner there.
It throws up 3 powers that turn?
Yeah, it's able to do 3, because that's how many it knows. No Smite and 2 others. So essentially, it's just letting you cast Smite in addition to whatever you want.
Hey, and you get +1?
And +1. So then I combine that with Cranial Channeling and I played a game. And then, that's wrong. But, the way I read it was that way. But even then, I think I only rerolled a couple times per psychic phase. For the most part, I was rolling pretty hot. So that's still okay. Feeding Frenzy is pretty neat. You can pile in 6 inches instead of 3. Now, if you're a Hormigaunt, you already do that.
Yeah, that doesn't add anything to them.
But if it's a Carnifex...
Piling in 6 inches?
It usually helps squad, right? So Gene Stealers would be good for that.
I was going to say, it helps more the Gene... that's why Hormagaunts already have it, because they have that leaping... it helps them mostly. Gene Stealers would be the second pick,
But then
I
if you're
suppose.
doing Gene Stealers, I still want to do Biometallic Sis and Pack Hunters.
I don't see a lot of strength in Feeding Frenzy.
Yeah, it's a cool one, but it just... Because it's kind of trying to fill the same need as something else is already kind of doing, I think it'll often get trumped.
Because Carnifexes don't act in units, right? You buy them in units, but then they all separate individually. So Carnifex wouldn't really need it. Yeah, I'd say Gene Stealers.
If it was Pilot and Consolidates?
The powerful gargoyles. Oh, yes. They could use it too.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But, if it was Pilot and Consolidate, I would consider it.
Oh, yeah, they're moving 12 inches after charging? Yeah, it's nuts. That's really good.
Because if several of them charge the same thing and one of them kills it, and the other ones can move 12 inches.
That's a foot. Thank you, sir.
Coming through.
That's something to consider.
And it's also to consider just the 6-inch pile. You put three Carnifexes the same thing. One of them kills it. The other ones get to move 6 inches, then 3 inches.
That's true.
It's not nothing. It just feels like, but if I'm bringing Carnifexes, I am going to bring Prey Sight. If a monster is charged, or does a heroic intervention, sound familiar? It gets +1 to hit, not attack. I'd rather it be attack, but I don't know. You bring in Haruspex with normally a 4+ to hit.
Is he 4+ to hit?
Yeah, but you never bring a Haruspex unless you bring Prey Sight now.
He hits on 3s.
Combine that, once again, jumping over. The Adaptive Physiology, which allows you, instead of a Warlord trait, if you have a character who's your Warlord, which is a specification, you can give a FAQ'd, non-unique, non-named character. I give it to Old One Eye in a game before they FAQ'd it, and making him a Synapse creature, which is awesome. You can give him one of these Adaptive Physiologies. There's a list for infantry, which a couple of them are pretty good, and there's a list for monsters, which a couple of them are pretty awesome. Murderous Size is one. Choose one of their melee weapons. It gets +1 strength, AP, and damage.
Oh, that damage one's brutal. I guess the AP's really good too.
Yeah, well, it's all of them. It gets all of them.
Does it need the strength one that much? I assume it's already super strong.
Strength 7.
So
yes.
Wait, he doesn't have any multiplier?
He has 2 weapons. He's got his Maw,
right,
which is strength 7, and he's got his Shoveling Claws, which are strength 14 because they're ×2.
Yeah.
But you're missing the point. Because the Haruspex has all sorts of these built-in rules which were never really useful because he just was never really a hard hitter. When he attacks with his Maw, every model he kills, he gets to make a free attack with his Shoveling Claws, which are
cool.
Strength 14, -3, D6 damage each. Okay? The Maw has the advantage of getting D3 attacks per attack. So he has 4 base attacks, so you're doing 4d3. So you charge him in, and this is what I almost always manage to do with him. You charge him so that he's got a unit of infantry on his one side and a vehicle on the other.
Oh, nice.
Or a character or something heavy. And he goes, and eats 5 characters. And then goes,
shovels
But you put the +1 strength, because it's only strength 7, which, that's strength 7 to 8 is a big jump. Because a lot of things are toughness 4.
So it's 3s and 2s, right?
There's also a lot of things that are toughness 7 and toughness 8. So that 7 to 8 jump is a big one. There are certain strength jumps that are bigger than others if you really look at what the meta involves. And so, he charges in at strength 8. It's -2 instead of -1. Big difference there. And it's normally damage D3, but it becomes damage D3 +1. What does that kill instantly?
Primaris!
All the Primaris, just eating them all up. And then as he's doing that, he's just greedily shoveling. Oh, by the way, if you kill at least one model with that, you get to regain a wound. Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You don't get to, not for every model, just once. And so you combine that with the Prey Sight, where he gets +1 to hit on the charge, and the Haruspex went down in points, and he got a new stratagem for 1 command point when he's chosen to fight. He can re-roll hit rolls.
Oh!
It's just nasty, and I love it because the Haruspex was awful before, and I never could use them in a way that was effective.
Also, he's a player.
Yeah,
Nice.
because he had all those rules before, but he was just hitting on 4s. and it was D3 damage. And so it's just like, I've never really, and strength 7, so I'm winning on 3, so it's 4s and 3.
That's a bad combo.
4s and 3s?
Combo.
Like, come on. Now it's 3s and often 3s and 2s?
Yeah.
That's basically +1 to hit and wound.
Does he get base AP built into his attack, or is it
-1?
So it's a -2 with that. Yeah, that's huge.
So the hard specs all of a sudden is actually kind of good. You can also just give it to Carnifexes. If they have 2 Siding Talons, you can upgrade one of the Siding Talons, and the second Siding Talon gives an extra attack. He doesn't fight with the second one.
Yeah.
And so technically...
You put all the attacks in the
front, yeah.
my strong arm.
And you give him Tusk to get +1 attack on the charge, but it's not the Tusks attacking, it just gives him +1 attack. So all of that goes into this +1 strength damage and AP. And now those Carnifexes are strength 7 instead of 6. That's another moderate jump. It's not as big as 7 to 8. -4 AP instead of 3,
4
and
damage.
4 damage apiece.
Ridiculous. So -4 AP is often no save at all. In a lot of cases.
Most cases. Yeah. And then on top of that, you give them Prey Sight to get the +1 hit on the charge. They already have their own built-in +1 hit on the charge.
They hit on
another
2s.
hit on 2s. Rerolling 1s because they're Siding Talons.
Oh! Hey, that's really good. That's not bad.
Right?
Yeah.
Almost, double Siding Talon Carnifexes are already pretty good. But you're always like, do I bring the Crushing Claws to deal with the higher strength stuff?
I can imagine you probably get a little bit more out of the hard respect, so he's tougher, harder to kill.
Yeah, but he also costs more points.
Ah, that's true, yeah.
And I don't want to bring the same thing every time. So it's just experimenting with different things that you can do, right? So that's awesome. The other adaptive physiology that I know I'm jumping here, and we're just going to be all over the place, is Synaptic Enhancement. You give a monster Synapse and Shadow in the Warp. We played our game today. You're going to see it. I gave it to a Tyrannocyte.
Which is great for backline harassing, right?
Yeah, all of a sudden you can drop in the back with some Termagants and you don't have to be like, I don't have any Synapse in range.
No, they're not running. They're immune.
And that's a 12 wound, toughness 6, 4-up save model. It's not the strongest.
But you don't want to really shoot at either because there's always so many other threats.
Well, the thing that it brought, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, or just, you have a lot of choices. You can turn a Carnifex into Synapse, Haruspex into Synapse, although I would never choose that. You can spend a command point, by the way, Progeny of the Hive, to do an extra one of these adaptive, just one extra.
So you could have up to 2. Okay.
I don't know, if I could spend, I'm glad they said only one extra because I would be tempted every time to spend like 5 command points and be like, you all have +1 strength damage and AP.
They wrote that early on when the books were first coming out. You could just keep spending 1 command point to get extra relics, and they quickly stump that one. Granids could do that.
Yeah, and the only restriction is you can't give it to something that already has an adaptive physiology. It doesn't say you can't give the same.
Or you can give the same. I guess that makes sense. You give the same one. It's just.
Which I did in several games. Like that monstrous size is just so good. Yeah. Or another cool one for the infantry is Unnatural Reactions. So you can give a unit of infantry the ability to heroically intervene, but they don't only have to be 6 inches away, not 3 inches away to do it.
Do they go the full 6 or do they go like
and
a random?
They still move 6 inches.
Oh, that is a big deal.
Yeah. So imagine a unit of Hormagaunts, who, by the way,
Pylons.
are AP -2 right now because I gave them the other stuff. And this 30 unit of Hormagaunt
Excuse me.
Just basically can't get to you first turn, so it just advances forward and kind of fills up the middle. Yeah, you could shoot it to death, but you better, because if you come within 6 inches of it and don't charge it, I can be like, oh yeah?
Boop. Now you fight these
there.
AP2 sides. Ugh.
Yeah, exactly. And then spend a command point and make it AP -3 if I really need it.
They're not even that expensive either. Like, if you do kill them, whoop. You know, I think they're 4 points a model, because I remember you brought 30 and they were 120 points.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
You can give them adrenal glands, you give them +1 advance and charge. You can give them toxin sacs, let them do more damage. I just never find that. I always, bodies over, is it quantity over quality?
Is the toxin sacs the 6 to wound is 2 damage?
Yeah.
That actually might be worth it.
It's 2 more points.
Oh, is it 2 points per model? I thought it was 1 maybe. All right, there's a reason it's 2. Well, they're AP3 now, 2 damage on 6.
Yeah, but that points cost was determined before they had anything else.
It's true. It's like 4.
So it's like, hey, I gotta get 2 damage on these 5 attacks, but you don't have any AP, so you make your 3-up saves. Oh, look, I made 1 of them. Oh, hey.
Yeah, because
That
all of a
was
sudden,
totally worth the extra 30 points.
all of a sudden that unit's 180 points instead of 120.
Yeah, sorry, extra 60 points.
Sorry, yeah.
So some of the other cool high fleet adaptations. What were the other ones I liked? Oh, one I keep bringing over and over again because I think it's just, and I'll change it up with other things, is Metamorphic Regrowth. That a model with this adaptation, which is everything,
Yeah.
regains up to 1 lost wound at the start of your turn.
I like how you can choose to not take that wound. It's up to 1 wound, you can choose to take 0.
And I just realized, I'm like, why does it say up to 1?
If you wanted something to die, you just be like, hey, he's not gonna regrowth.
I'm not Sisters of Battle. Why would I care to die?
I was going to say, there's been a few examples where I was playing Sisters of Battle where I wanted them to die. Not for the miracle dice, but to be able to shoot a unit in my back line because it was completely surrounding something that it wasn't killing. There's reasons why.
Yeah, I know.
Far and few between.
They say up to 1, probably because they're like, let's just write it in such a way that if it interacts with weird stuff that we didn't think about, we know we've got ourselves covered. But it's cool because almost everything in Tyranids except your swarms have multiple wounds. Even Ripper swarms and Tyranid warriors, Hive Guard, all your monsters, obviously.
Pretty much the only things are the Termagants, Gene Stealers. Oh, Gargoyles, yeah.
Your basic chaff, right? So I think that's pretty cool.
That affects 75% of your book, if not more.
Yeah. Now, mind you, on the table, you can easily build armies that are mostly not affected. You build a swarm-heavy army and you only have a few monsters.
There'd be no reason to take Metamorphic Regrowth in that case.
It's definitely a contender. It always, whenever I've built them, it's always been on the list. It's always one of the things I'm like, yeah, this is one of them. So if I were to go through this in total, I'd say, as I go through it, Biometallic Cis, let's just count the ones that I think are worth considering. Horror from Beyond, we didn't talk about that, but it's a -1 leadership bubble of 3 inches of all your monsters. Depending on the army that you are facing, that can be good. Hypermetabolic Acceleration, which lets you reroll advances. Metamorphic Regrowth, so it's the regaining wounds. Morphic Sinews, no, I'm not going to put that on the list. No, it's worth it. On certain armies, it might be worth it.
You could use it.
I'm still not going to put it on the list. Let's keep this a solid list.
Yeah.
Pack Hunters, where you get an extra AP if you outnumber, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Prey Sight, monsters get +1 to hit on the charge.
Oh, heck
charge
yeah.
or Heroic Intervention. I definitely don't care about having a 4-up ignoring wounds against Overwatch, unless I'm against a very specific army. Like I got all these
Iron Hands or
yeah, I got all this. I got these Hormagaunts, and you brought just flavors. So I guess in this case I'll bring. I know all you have is flavors. I'll bring Senses of the Outer Dark.
Senses of the Outer Dark. They somehow
Everything
avoid
gets
the
a
flames.
4+. Yeah, I guess it's just when they charge and they just know how to.
They
avoid
just
it.
duck and weave between the flames.
And that's basically it. There's a couple other cool ones I think I'll try out with very specific armies. Spore Mist Spines, when they can advance when they fall back. That's okay.
That's less than half of the options in the book, though.
Yeah. Well, I know, but how many? When you look at the make your own chapter from Chapter Tactics,
There's only 2 that people take. Let's be real.
Exactly. I found 6, and
That's
if I'm really honest, 4. But still, 4 to 6, maybe 7.
Couple of cool Space Marine ones, but people tend to generally. I'm sure, if there is something incredibly powerful for this, it's probably only 2 that people take in combination. I could be wrong.
See, I think that at least outside of the tournament meta, because I don't know anything about that, I tend to skew either into bodies or into monsters. And so whenever I skew into, this makes me want to skew more heavily. So it's like sometimes I'll just bring like a mixture, a little bit of shooting in the back with some stuff out front. That's fine, but it'll be harder to find 2 things that really go with that.
Right. I'm curious to see if most people, if they are playing incredibly competitively, if they just stick with the old Hive Fleets.
Yeah, I don't know. Those ones are pretty straightforward. Now, there are the new psychic powers that go specifically with the Hive Fleets. And some of those
Which does boost them even more so, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the adaptive physiology, this is why I really want to try out an alternate warrior army, because there are specific ones for infantry and specific ones for monsters. The infantry ones, I just look through them and I'm like, these don't seem to make sense for anything except things like Raveners and warriors. For example, Enhanced Resistance essentially ignores AP -1 and -2. It treats them as AP 0.
That's a pretty big deal.
But if you're a unit of 30 Hormagaunts, you only have a 6-up save to begin with.
Oh yeah,
and it's like, so what? So what? I get to keep my 6-up save against heavy flamers and heavy bolters, and against the Primaris weapons. That's cool and all. So all of a sudden, if you're bringing units of 6 to 9 warriors with the 4-up save,
they pretty much have no save or their 4-up save with this trait, unless they're in cover.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also because there's a lot of weapons that are AP -1 and -2.
Right.
Especially
Heavy
if you're fighting
bolters,
against Iron Hands.
all that. Oh yeah. Well, any Space Marine player pretty much has base AP 1.
Yeah, with all their Primaris.
And then all the rest go up to 2, right? Then you're just ignoring that. That's a pretty considerable deal, right?
Yes, and I think that would be worth it. You have also Aberrant Pheromones, which is a -2 leadership bubble around that infantry unit, well, only an inch. And interesting, with Dynamic Camouflage, if they're in cover, they get +2 to their saving throws. That's going to be very game dependent before that's
especially because you want to use this on a bigger unit, so it's going to be harder to get that unit cover. So
exactly. And then Unnatural Reactions that we talked about, that they can actually heroically intervene 6 inches. I think that one's.
There's a lot of gotcha in that one too. Like you can let your opponent know, but like they can just forget. It's very easy to forget about that.
Let your opponent know. Or
Yeah.
remind them when they move. Did you intend to move within 6 inches?
Right. Don't forget, these guys are going to hear what's
Those moments are what create ticked off players.
Yeah, that's where the tension comes in.
Yeah, you're like, dude, I didn't mean for that. I wouldn't have put them within 6 inches if I remembered that. And you're just like, but you did. That's just
No, we
jerk
try
move, man.
We
Jerk
try to
move.
avoid that.
Yeah.
But yeah, even so, that gives you that's a 6-inch radius of control zone, right? Like around an objective is a pretty big deal.
The monster ones, there are 5 as well. I tend to only see 2 that I really like, although I can see Dermic Symbiosis maybe is worth it on maybe a Tyrannifex, for example. It gets a 5-up invuln, and it's considered to have double the number of wounds remaining for purposes of determining what its table looks like. So what its ballistic skill is, and attacks, and all of that. I can see that being useful for a shooting monster. If you have a close combat monster, however, Murderous Size, that +1 strength damage and AP, I think that's always going to win.
Murderous Size is a good name. Yeah, well, from what you were telling me with the hard specs, and like even just like a big strong arm for a Carnifex is kind of funny to imagine as well. For a model so cheap, right?
Yeah, just one arm.
And you're just absolutely just destroying vehicles or whatever else he comes across.
Or a close combat Hive Tyrant. I wish I could put it on the unique characters because I would totally give it to Swarm Lord.
What a surprise.
That would be so strong. There are other cool ones, like Accelerated Digestion. In the fight phase, if you destroy an enemy model with this model, you get 1 wound. And you get 1 per model you kill, up to a maximum of 3.
It's weird that they have a limitation on that one.
Right? It's like, come on, dude, they earned it.
Like,
they
why?
killed 7 models. Let them regain 7 wounds.
Yeah.
But, because you combine, like if you put that on a Haro Specs, for example, he already regains a wound when he kills at least 1 model. And then he regains those wounds in addition.
Oh.
But I still rather the +1 strength damage and AP. That's the hard choice, right? I like internal balance where 2 things really do vie for the same position and you have a hard time choosing. It just feels that.
So I had misread the accelerated digestion. I thought it was 1 wound per phase you killed something, up to 3 in a game.
Oh, no.
It's the other way around where you get up to 3. Yeah, no, you should keep it at 3. I don't know what I was. 3 is fine.
3, yeah, it's fine. The Synaptic Enhancement, giving them synapse, is definitely good. Voracious Ammunition, I put it on my Hive Tyrant for today's game. It didn't seem to be that great. Basically, if you shoot something and you kill a model, at the end of the shooting phase, you do D3 mortal wounds to it.
It's great for finishing off units. Sometimes it just doesn't come up.
You don't know as you're firing if it's important.
Right.
And when you're giving it up an entire adaptation to do that, it's kind of like the crappy warlord traits again. It's like, yeah, that's good, but these are way better.
Yeah.
And that's when you're looking at, I don't know, when it comes, and I'm no expert on rules design here, so, take this however you want. But when it comes to it, if you're going to have 5 things side by side, like your monsters can choose one of these, and if certain ones of them are clearly for fighting and certain ones of them are clearly for shooting, you need to make it a hard choice.
Right.
And so if you look at those 2, and all you have to do is, it's pretty easy. You just go to 5 people that play that army and say, which one would you choose? And if they all choose the same one, you buff the other. Maybe nerf that one if it's too good.
I mean, I feel like they've had to have done something like that. And like
Of course. And I'm not saying that they don't play test and they don't ask around. But at the same time, they are writing a lot of books.
It's true. And
These supplements are coming out very fast.
It is subjective too, because I know there's probably people out there that love Voracious Ammunition. But I'm like, Murderous Size is so much cooler.
Well, see, if you only have shooting, then
exactly,
you don't want Murder Size. But then the question comes, do you want to spend a command point or one of your monstrous adaptive physiologies on that?
When you can
when you can give like another monster a synapse, for example, to extend your synapse range.
Yeah.
So it may win in an army where you already have plenty of synapse and you have no close combat monsters.
That's 2 things you already got to check
But even
off.
then,
the 5-up
It
invuln's
contends
nice.
for the 5-up invuln. Not on a Flying Hive Tyrant, but an Exocrine or a Tyrannifex vying for that. So it's hard. That's kind of what I see. I'm like, if there's 2 of them and it's just like always choose this one, then it's kind of like the 6-up invuln. As soon as I said 5-up invuln, you're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you want to hear. But then it's like, but you'll lose one of the APs. Would you take the 5-up invuln to lose an AP?
I think so, because that could be super annoying. It'd be hard to take. That paired up with Catalyst on that unit, it'd be a super obnoxious unit to, or any of those units would be obnoxious to deal with.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't disagree that it would be very powerful.
Yeah.
It's just the 6-up is just don't bother.
Again, that comes it comes down to the fact of how you prefer to play the army, right?
If even all it did was just instead of giving them an invuln, just gave them +1 of their saves. They have a 5-up armor save. That to me, would you take it if it was a +1 save?
No, I'd probably go with more
if it was
offensive
a +2
stuff.
save, would you take it?
Yes, I think.
4-up save gaunts?
Yes.
Seems ridiculous.
Right, I think I would. But there's so much.
You wouldn't take it with the +1.
But there's so much. There's so much AP with Marines. It's like maybe that 4-up doesn't even matter. You just go right back to a 6-up. I mean, a still a save, I guess. But
For an Age of Sigmar, you would love to have a 6-up when you had nothing before.
oh,
Right?
100%, yeah.
Yeah, that game is just very different kind of.
So I like that. That just goes to show you, I'd rather like a 5-up in bones. It's always nice to have that.
That's almost too good, right?
Right.
If it was like a 6-up ignoring wounds, maybe that, right? Because then no matter what,
It's a double roll, yeah.
you get, or not a roll. When you don't get a roll, you get a 6-up.
Yeah.
Whereas it's like 6-up invuln. It's like, well,
No, I'm not.
it only matters if there's AP, which not everything has.
I'm not in love with the 6-up AP or 6-up invuln.
Yeah, yeah.
5-up, oh yeah. Maybe.
It's tough though when you have to write that many. You have to make sure there's not just. You have to make sure they're not too powerful.
There can't be the automatic 2 picks, right? There has to be some preference.
That's hard though because the meta is going to be the meta,
Right.
and
then you like
if a meta's already swinging hard into something and you just give a slight upgrade to that thing, it can swing incredibly hard.
like you yourself, you like the Scything Talons. I mean, I like them myself too. I'd probably pick them up, but like maybe someone out there watching is like, I can't stand close combat. I can't stand Scything Talons, right? So
Yeah, why are you playing Tyranids close combat? They're so much better as a shooty army. People might be saying that. Just play them High Fleet Chronos, which gets to reroll 1s to hit.
I've been
when
beaten
you're
a
not
lot
moving.
by Chronos in the past. Just like I remember fighting against like it was like 8 or 9 card. It was 9 card effects. It was like 3 of 3,
Right.
and it was just like all Devours, all Chronos, and it was just
And they
like
stand still and blah.
yeah, that was brutal. I was playing Necrons though, so I mean it was a hard counter already right there. All my warriors.
Boring though.
Yeah, yeah.
So the last thing I want to talk about is the new psychic powers. I know we haven't covered every last thing and never intended to. We've got 7 new psychic powers, 1 for each High Fleet from the basic Tyranid Codex. And I haven't used any of these, but I do notice that at least a couple of them look very, very yummy. Behemoth, in particular, is that it's a warp charge value of 7, which isn't too bad. 1 friendly Behemoth unit within 9 inches of the Psyker, and they get +1 to their wound rolls in melee.
Hello.
Give that to the Hormagaunts. Now, mind you, that these are Behemoth, so the Behemoth thing is reroll failed charges, and I think it's also fallback.
Is that the one?
Charge.
Is that the one where they run 3d6, take the high?
That's Kraken.
That's Kraken? Okay.
Kraken advanced 3d6, and maybe they're the ones that can fall back and charge. Behemoth definitely rerolls charges, and it doesn't really matter. It basically you have to kind of consider this is what you're getting. Combine it with the fact that you can give a unit +1 to wound.
Yeah, you could have like the Swarm Lord slingshot something up the board. You just be like, all right, +1 wound and go.
Yeah, yeah. Like, and all of a sudden the question becomes this whole. It's a lot of factors, right? For example, if you're doing a lot of Gene Stealers, would you rather they reroll charges and +1 to wound on 1 unit, or would you just want them to be AP -2? And then you can cast like another psychic power on them, like Catalyst.
Well,
Let them have 5-up ignoring, or
The nice thing about that is options are great. So when you're combining, you can either improve the old High Fleets or make your own High Fleet, and you can definitely find preferable ways to play between both of them. I think they just did a good job with that.
Yeah, Behemoth was always one of my favorite ones. Kraken, I think, was, if I was doing Gene Stealers, Kraken was the pick because they can advance and charge, and so being able to roll 3d6 and take your pick.
Pretty much getting that 6.
Not always, you're getting 4 to 6 usually.
Yeah.
And then the Kraken get a new psychic power, which is called Synaptic Allure, only warp charge value of 5. And you pick an enemy unit anywhere on the table, not visible, and not within range, just on the table, and everybody gets to re-roll their charges against it.
Yep. You lure your entire army to that
Yeah,
one
you're
enemy.
like that thing. And the nice thing is you can still multi-charge.
Yeah, as long as you declare them as a target.
You know, as long as they're within 12 inches. So like this unit's here, and it's like they're within 12 inches, but they really want to get there. They're just like, yeah, screw it. Them and these guys.
And I get to reroll my charge now.
And blah. Oh wait, no, actually, no, never mind.
Yep, you're right.
I thought it was going to say you must end within an inch of this one because a lot of things will specify that, right?
Yo, in this case, yeah, no, it does
It
not.
says when a charge roll is made by a friendly Kraken unit that targets that enemy unit, you can reroll the result. It has no other restrictions. So as long as you're within 12 inches of it, it's basically like choose a unit. Everything within 12 inches gets to reroll. Yeah. As long as that unit's not some super awesome overwatching like thing that you can't engage in close combat.
You don't want to risk the Overwatch at all.
Yeah, you just Overwatch. You just let it take out your whole army. So that's pretty cool. That one, I'm tempted. It's just hard because if I bring all Gene Stealers, I'm just like, I want to do the +2 AP thing because that's just so good. But then saying, well, no, you can roll 3d6 for your advance and take the best one, and then choose a unit, and it's only warp charge 5, and everybody gets to re-roll against that. It's like, oh, that's even better. I don't know. So that's good, right?
Well, yeah, that's what you want. You want the struggle between the options.
Exactly. Because then you can still throw a Raiding Claws at it and give it a bunch of AP.
Exactly.
Leviathan If it's a Hive Nexus, which I think is really cool. All synapse creatures on the table have their synapse ability increased to 18 inches instead of 12.
Ooh.
So if you're looking at the table, you're like, oof, I'm going to lose a lot of my gaunts because they're just out of that 12-inch range. Turn this on for Warp Charge 6, and you're most likely going to pull them back in. Gorgon, Poisonous Influence, Warp Charge 6. Improve armor penetration characteristics of melee weapons. That friendly models within 9 inches of the psyche are equipped.
That's not one unit. You just use an entire bubble of +1 AP to everything within 9. Hello. But that's Gorgon. I don't think too many people play Gorgon.
No, they're not as good as all the other ones.
Yeah, it's a great psychic power, though. That's for sure.
This is why I wish these were just generic psychic powers that anybody could take. Oh, I would love this.
Yeah, but
I would have played it. Well, then what?
Well,
then you would bring them and have fun with them. That's such a crime.
Now you have your like AP4 like gaunts.
So what? It costs a psychic power. I had to use both my High Fleet adaptations
and a command point.
And then a command point.
Yep.
Yeah, I had to pay for it. Give it to me, man.
Wow, it just goes right through that power armor, right? Just like butter.
It's like when there's Iron Hands out there, I don't think we can complain about some close combat guys having a good.
Yeah, I'm definitely not saying it's too overpowered.
Yeah.
It just seems silly. I like it.
I love it. It's great. And also because it affects everything else too. All of a sudden, rending claws for the next break.
But it's funny because it's extra AP for all these different varying reasons. Like, okay, they have really poisonous claws. There's so many of them, armor can't protect against it. And then I don't know what the other one is, but it's not like it's one. It's Lurking Maws is the next one from Jormungandr?
Jormungandr.
Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know. However you want. Jormungandr.
Jormungandr. Just mumble.
You like Lurking Maws? Why don't you read it and let us know what it is?
I don't even know what Lurking Maws is. 6. You select an enemy visible to the Psyker until the end of the turn. Whenever you attack against that unit, friendly Jormungandr unit was set up on the battlefield, you can reroll the hit roll. So you pop up, you reroll hit rolls against the unit you pick with the psychic powers.
I got to try out Jormungandr. I never play them because it's all about things that show up that turn. And I just never really think to do it. That just kind of sounds fun.
You just pop up, okay, so something pops up, rerolls, hit rolls, what immediately comes to mind?
Well, you got a lot of things. Because if you give...
Ripper Swarms with little mouth guns.
Is it not just melee weapons?
It's just, you can reroll the hit roll. Oh, that's true, you can actually do both. Yeah, look at that.
Oh, it actually works on shooting too?
Yep.
Oh, goodness.
That's super cool.
Okay,
actually.
All right. So it's basically dooming a unit.
You can't do it on the first battle round, though.
But you can't show up at the first battle round anyways.
You can in narrative games.
So when resolve an attack against the unit made by a model that was set up on the battlefield, you can reroll. It cannot be manifest in the first battle round. Yeah, but narrative games, that's a whole other
right, that's a different beast, right?
Yeah. Right? So you can't show up on the first turn anyways, and you can't set up pretty much anything on the first turn for Tyranids. And so what? So it's just like, and if it's narrative, then I could select multiple units.
Exactly, you just keep casting it.
You.
All right, Lurking Maw.
That psychic power makes me want to try out Jormungandr. So thank you, Games Workshop, for tipping me over to finally want to try Jormungandr.
This all pop up.
So basically, half my army will be showing up because that's all you can do in match play.
I'm trying to think, what would be that amazing? Most things already reroll hit rolls. Not all hit rolls, like ones. They hit on 2 sometimes.
Not
right?
in Tyranids though. Tyranids don't have a lot of reroll.
I guess I'm thinking of Gene Stealers with Siding Talons.
Siding Talons, yes.
And a brood,
that's about it.
And a Broodlord nearby. I guess it is just Siding Talons. Like the Prime gives you +1 to hit.
Yeah, most other things are giving the bonus. The bubbles are not rerolls. They're usually pluses to hit.
And Swarmlord just makes something move again. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Especially for monsters.
Yeah. So even just showing up with the Termagants.
Oh yeah, how many shots? Like that's 40 shots in the squad usually.
Yeah, if you actually brought, because normally when I bring Termagants, it'll be 10 Flesh Borers and 10 Devourers, because the 10 Flesh Borers are the meat shield.
Yep.
Meat shield, they die first, and then the Devourers are the ones that do all the damage. And that's very effective, by the way. I can't remember who originally gave me that idea. It's been years.
Oh, you're going like back to 6th edition, maybe before that.
No. It was actually.
Oh, it was in 8th edition.
I was always doing one or the other because I was just like, I have them different colors slightly because I have my old Termagants, my new Termagants.
Oh, okay.
So they just never looked right to mix them. And then somebody's like, yeah, you got to mix them, and I'm like, oh yeah. Especially with the Termagant being able to heal back.
It's only Flesh Borers, but yeah, you bring back the 10 Flesh Borers.
But if I was Jormungandr, I'd actually consider a unit of 20 Devour Gaunts.
Yeah, well, they all show up.
Drop them in, either popping up with a Tyranid or Trigon Prime, or Trigon, or popping them down with a Tyrannocyte.
Is this 60 shots?
That's 60, 18-inch range, strength 4 shots.
Re-rolling, all hit rolls.
Re-rolling.
Not failed hit rolls, by the way. This is the new wording.
Yeah.
All hit rolls.
Yeah, all hit rolls. And so 4 is rerolling. That's basically, it's almost a 2+. It's like a 2.5+.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Better than a 3-up. Not as good as a 2-up, but pretty close.
It's pretty close. Pretty darn close. And then they're going to be rerolling 1s to wound because there's 20 of them.
Oh, hey. And then can you make them 2 damage for that one strat?
No, that's only for monsters.
It's only for monsters. But okay.
You could spend 2 command points and have them fire again.
That's true. That's just a lot of shots. That's 60 shots at strength 4. That's something to respect.
Alternatively, you could have 20 flesh borgons for a third of the price. And there's a stratagem that lets flesh borers get +1 to wound.
Oh.
And they're strength 4 as well. Now, they're only 12-inch range, so you'd have to be much more specific with your target.
Like a longer line.
Well, they have to stay close to the Tyranids site because they're coming out of the Tyranids
that's true.
site. But that's not a problem because you're with 9 inches away from enemies, so you should be able to. If you pick an enemy right, if he's on the outside, you can get him. And all of a sudden, you've got 20 shots, not 60. Hitting on 4s, rerolling, wounding on 3s.
Against an average,
But you have to remember, they're 3 times cheaper.
That's true.
No, sorry, they're half as cheap. They're
half the cost.
It's 4 points for Termagant and 4 points to give them a Devourer. But they triple their shots and they enhance the range. So it's totally worth the points if you...
There's got to be because you're only selecting 1 unit with this one. There's got to be something better.
One enemy unit.
Oh, right. You choose an enemy unit. You just
something that
annihilate
you need to die. You choose that enemy unit.
Okay.
And it gets to reroll hits.
Fair.
It's not going to be the most powerful thing in the world, but it's going to be powerful.
Or it adds more to what the Jormungandr
And Jormungandr has some other stratagems and things that they can do. So I think I'll try them.
You know what? I guess there's stratagems in here as well, right? And there's the adaptive
I've already gone
physiology.
through some of those.
Well, I was going to say, it'd be kind of funny if you're playing, your Jormungandr. You only need the Tyranid book, but then you bring this book for the 1 psychic power in the book. But the stratagems in here.
No, the stratagems are actually quite solid.
Oh yes.
Maybe we'll actually go over a couple more of those. Chronos is. I'm just going to skip the Hydras. Chronos is cool. It's Warp Charge 6. It's called Symbiote Storm. You pick a friendly Chronos unit within 12 inches of this Psyker until the end of the turn when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon, because Chronos is all about ranged. If they roll a roll of 6+, they get 1 additional hit. And this actually might work with that Tyranid Warrior thing, because this is not an unmodified roll of 6.
That's true. That's rare. That's just a 6+. So you get a prime nearby, then it's 5+.
5+.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the old Tesla.
Yeah.
Or we're back to the old Tesla.
Odd. Very odd.
Yeah. So the +1 to hit, and all of a sudden they're firing all those shots and 5s actually get an additional hit.
Not so bad.
This is hard.
I was going to say,
at the same time, I was thinking with the Warriors, you just keep them with their cheap Scything Talons.
Yep.
And then you give the whole Scything Talon upgrade thing.
But you can't do that with Chronos.
No, you can't.
And Chronos is
about shooting.
And Chronos is about
So if I was going to do that, I'd keep the Scything Talons because they're cheap, and it would just be Dust Bitters and Venom Cannons.
And then if they get into close combat, they can utilize this a little bit, I suppose. You're better off just like, it's an okay psychic power. I think you're better off using some of the other ones. Like, I guess like...
Depends how many Psychers you have on the table. Tyranids often have more Psychers and they can almost cast powers except for just smiting forever. So it doesn't hurt to have one extra one that... They all know this. Oh, they can know the psychic power. Yeah.
That's kind of nice that they all know it. It's kind of like...
No, they have to. They can know it.
Oh.
So it's added to the list that they can choose.
So it's essentially... Got you, right.
So you still have to choose it.
I don't know if I like that.
Well, that's exactly how they all work except for Smite.
Except for Thousand Suns. Thousand Suns, the entire army just knows that new special psychic power that they get.
That's one psychic power, though.
Yes, true.
So, stratagems. It's the last thing, I promise.
He promises.
Or maybe not. I don't know. I promise.
There's one right here. We talked Progeny to the Hive. Look at that.
Yeah, that's right. You get the extra adaptive mutation.
Unyielding chitin.
Okay, that's right. There are a lot of new good stratagems. Some of them are just flavorful, and some of them are actually really good. Exocrines for 1 command point can count as not having moved. That is big.
That's probably one of the biggest ones in there.
No.
It's not?
It is a great one.
That's the only one I've dealt with.
But it's not one of the biggest. It is, well, maybe one of the biggest, but it's one of many that are actually really good. An exocrine, if it doesn't move, it gets +1 to hit, and it can double shoot. So it's hitting on 3s, firing 12 shots at a strength 7, -3, 2 damage. So now, but it was always like, there was a turn where you're like, shoot, there's nothing left. I guess I'll spend 1 turn to get to a new location. Now I'm hitting on 5s because I'm firing heavy weapons and only 6 shots. It goes from 12 shots in on 3s to 6 shots in on 5s. True artillery style.
Right.
Right? Like if you want to hold still,
boom.
But now he can, and then he can symbiotic devastation. I don't know why they call it that. It should be called quickly rams his fists back into the ground. Because that's what I picture them doing. They get to their spot and they're just like a cat.
Oh, they need?
They need the crowd until they kind of get. They're like, oh, hold on, gotta get my fish prints.
They scooch their bum in there.
Yeah,
They
he's gonna scoot. Huh, I'm good to go, sir. And then when they move, they're like, bam.
just like a cat.
And
when
they
you try
start
and
to
move
turn.
it.
So now, yeah, so that should call, quick fists.
I would like to note out that these are all very wordy. I tried to find this very strong one you wanted
Which
to point
one?
out.
Tell me what it is. I'll tell you which one it is.
No, it's too many words. I can't.
Just tell me what it does, and I'll tell you where it is. Because I've actually learned these because there are a lot of good ones.
I have no idea. Oh, feeding the hunger. What is this?
Oh,
one
you
do?
mean you're trying to find?
I'm trying to find the strong one here.
Oh, I thought you meant there was one that you
It's like
faced.
paragraphs.
Okay, well, let me run through them really quickly. You ready? The Toxicrane can now hug you.
Ooh.
When you try to fall back, it hugs you. I spend a command point, roll a die. On a 3+, you can't fall back. 2+ if you're infantry. So he runs up, engages a bunch of guys, and just goes, and then you can't shoot them because they can't get away.
That's super nice. Like that's a very powerful ability with witches and Drukhari.
That's right.
It's terrifying.
Yes. Lictors, when they're first set up or they are in cover, you can't shoot at them when they charge.
I know this one. I remember this one.
And they also can get +1 to charge. There is a Hormagaunts getting +1 AP. Haruspex is rerolling hit rolls. You've got Moloch when it's...
It's literally one stratagem per unit in the book that was kind of poo before.
That's what they did. They just like, the Haruspex needs a little bit of help, reroll hits. Okay. Unexpected Encourage, when the Moloch shows up, it gets +2 to the roll. I'm still not going to...
Terrors from the Deep ability, eh? Yep.
You get -1 to hit it when it's set up, as long as it doesn't move.
Okay.
It's a Ripper's form. I guess if you grabbed an objective, you can be screw you guys. 1 command point. -1 to shoot these guys for the rest of the game.
Buried threats. Unless there's flamers nearby. And yeah, I guess you wouldn't want to use that. Savage Distraction. What does that do?
That's not that great. So, let's go to the interesting ones.
Where's the good one?
Unyielding Chitin. Warriors or Tyranid Prime, when they are targeted as a shooting... use this stratagem in your charge phase or your opponent's shooting phase. If it's chosen as a target for an attack, and they have the ranged weapon, they reduce the damage by 1.
Oh, that's good for a 3-wound model.
Yeah.
That's like, what's auto cannon, predator auto cannon.
Well, a 2 damage weapon also
Armigers.
needs 3 shots to kill rather than 2.
Rather than 2, yeah.
A 3 damage weapon needs 2 shots instead of 1. A D6 damage weapon is all of a sudden not very reliable. You need to roll a 4 up to kill it rather than a 3 up.
For 1 CP,
For 1 command point.
it does not go up anymore. You have a squad of 9 warriors that are kind of annoying to deal with, especially if you're the ones that ignore AP 1 and 2.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah, put all that together. What other ones do I think are good?
Where's this mind-blowing bonkers one you want to talk about?
None of them are mind-blowing bonkers. There's just basically sprinkled in a bunch for a bunch of units that were leh, and now they've basically made like Toxicranes. Now you can kind of use them, especially with the points drop and chapter approved.
But can use Maliceptors now.
I don't think so.
Heck, I don't think so. Ooh, subtract 1 from the weapon's strength when shooting at a Maliceptor.
For 2 command points.
Ooh, the power. The power.
2 command
His
points.
glistening brain arrays pulse with diffusive energies.
But why 2 command points?
Because the Games
If it was
Workshop...
like a 6-inch bubble or something, then yeah, 2 command points, totally.
You remember when they came out in 7th edition, it was the Toxicrane kit as well? It was just like, you know what, let's just make both of these garbage. Let's just
we
continue.
don't want to sell this game.
Yeah, let's just continue that pattern in 8th edition. 2 command points.
Gargoyles can treat all their weapons as being pistol for 1 command point.
Don't like that.
If there's 30 of them,
Ooh.
it's like 30 bolt pistols.
Ooh.
Come on, that's exciting.
Yeah, but then they had to survive the combat they got charged at by. What do you think? They have to charge into a combat that they're going to lose, or they have to somehow survive the charge that they just suffered. That's not going to happen. They're never going to be able to use that. They're just going to die.
I haven't used gargoyles yet with this new book, so I can't answer that question, but you probably
I think
are
you've
right.
made the right idea already
I think
by
you're right.
not bringing them.
Cool one. For a command point, a psyker can know everything that everybody knows on the table.
Oh, is he
Not
Nagash?
I'm not. Yeah, Tyranid strategy. It's like individually, this model becomes Nagash. No. No. It's just that he knows everything that other friendly Hive Fleet psychers know.
Is there a range on it?
Nope.
Oh, wow.
Better than Nagash. Does Nagash have a range?
He did. They took it away, but it used to be table rage as well.
Yeah,
He's
whatever.
the God of Dead, coolest model ever. Just saying.
He's pretty cool. I think that's like there are some other ones, but
I'm a big fan of the Maliceptor one. That's just so good. Encephalic diffusion. I don't even know what the word encephalic means. It's wild. I don't even know what half these mean.
clearly something that makes you glisten.
I guess so.
Brain arrays pulse with glistening.
And whatever it is, they're diffusing. So
Well, the energy of the weapons, that's obvious.
Fair, okay, yeah.
Anybody says encephalic means something.
Yeah, you know what? I bet that too. I bet it means something for sure.
I can't imagine how hard it is for them to keep coming up with ideas for names for things. So Any Money says one of their tools is, what do we want it to do? Now, thesaurus those words.
Yeah.
We want it to weaken the strength. Oh, what's another word for strength? Maybe encephalic has something to do with strength. I don't know. Look it up. I don't want to. After this video finishes, I will totally not think about it ever again.
And you know what? If someone
It's 2 command points.
If someone knows what that word means right away, that's amazing.
Yeah, write it down. Write it down. We'd love to hear it.
Aggressive adaptation. Yeah, I mean.
So, in conclusion, is Blood of Baal great for Tyranids?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
100,000%.
More good options. Already a pretty good book. Now getting better.
Yeah, totally awesome. And I have no idea how it's going to play in tournaments. Like I always say, I'm always going to pass on that, and somebody else can discuss it. But it gives me more options to play. Gives me a few things to try out that I wasn't able to do with the other high fleets. Even if there's only 4 to 6 interesting ones, when you combine the different ways, that's like roughly 3 or 4 new high fleets that I can play around with.
Yeah.
Because there's only certain combos you're going to do with those, right?
And then you as an individual, only like a few of them yourself as well too, right?
Yeah, exactly. So it adds a lot more options. You combine that with the physiologies, the new stratagems, the new psychic powers to some degree. You get a lot of new ways to play with your Tyranids.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you have like a massive collection of like 70,000 Tyranids.
Yeah. So I hope that you enjoyed that. Make sure you go check out our battle report in the Vault. If you're not a Vault member, still click it, get a 7-day free trial. It helps support us. That's how we're able to make our videos, is through our Vault members. So thank you if you are a Vault member. It's Sisters of Battle versus Tyranids. It was a great game, very close. Go check that out. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more retrospective reviews. Happy wargaming.